Welcome to the Mind Muse podcast. I'm your host, Christie Turley, and today my friend Julie Ann Cairns joins me again for the second time. And this was really an interesting surprise. We were catching up after a few weeks of not talking, and she started to share with me this process that she recently had remembered that she knew. And she learned it from a yogi over 20 years ago. And it's this really cool process about how to release fear. And she takes me through it, and you can actually play along. It's pain free. I didn't have to dredge up any details or get upset about anything. So it's really, really easy to go through. And Julie is a true class act. She is the author of the best-selling Hay House book, The Abundance Code: How to Bust the 7 Money Myths for a Rich Life Now, which is available on Amazon. And she also has a documentary. She directed it, and it's of the same name, and it's available over at Gaia.com. So look for that, The Abundance Code. It's an awesome film. I loved it. Really changes your paradigm about abundance and scarcity. So I highly recommend it. And her book too is awesome. So anyway, let's go ahead and dive into this process, and hopefully you'll be able to play along and do this really quick visualization. And like I said, it's totally pain-free. Like, you're just using the power of your subconscious mind, and you're not having to remember anything painful. So this is an awesome way to help dispel any of those fears that might be lurking in the shadows. You might not even be aware of them. All right. Welcome back, Julie.
Nice to be here again.
Yeah. So
I love coming on your show.
thanks. I love to have you. We have such wonderful conversations. So
Thank
we were
you.
just actually on the phone earlier, and we started talking about this system that you have, or this method. I'm not sure what you would call it, but it seemed to be so relevant right now because we're going through this global pandemic, and there's a lot of different emotions that we're all feeling. The
Absolutely.
wide range of them, right? And
Yeah.
so fear is definitely one of those. And let's talk about that. Let's talk about the fear and how to work through it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we were chatting about a piece that I wrote a while back that was called The Subtle Art of Surfacing, that I had put on my blog. And it's really a process that you can use when you have fears that are kind of circling underneath the surface. And I kind of liken it to, remember that scene in the movie Jaws?
Mm-hmm.
Um, Gosh, that's going back. That's like 1975. So I'm revealing my age there. But, there's this scene where the shark is circling her, and there's that music. Da, 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 da. And it's got to be one of the scariest scenes from a movie ever. And one of the reasons that I think it's so scary is because it's underneath the surface. You can't you can't see what it's doing. It's probably going to do something, but when is it going to do it? And the what you don't know in that scene is actually the scariest part of it. And that kind of got me thinking about how that's so true in our emotional landscape, in our emotional lives. What is sitting underneath the surface that is kind of vague and not that, we don't want to look at it, right? Because we think that looking it in the eyes is just going to be so terrifying. So we avoid looking at it. But yet, because we don't look at it, retains this sort of power of just circling underneath the surface. And where I feel like this comes into play in people's fear or fears that you can't actually resolve, right? So, like, one example is, a fear that I experienced when I had a child that I didn't even know existed before I had, which was the fear that she would die or I would die, you know? And I mean, we're all going to die, right? But the fear that I might die too soon for her, or that she might die too soon and your child dying before you is too soon, right? So this is a fear that I can never resolve. It just sort of circles around below the surface. And because I can't resolve it, there's nothing I can do on the conscious level that's going to remove that fear. It's just a could happen one day sort of a thing. Um, I needed to find a way to surface it so that it didn't keep draining my energy away. And I think that that's something a lot about being very exhausted in this current time. And I think a lot of that exhaustion is from this draining of energy that occurs, draining into fears and that are sitting underneath the surface. So, yeah, I developed a process to help people with that.
So, before we get into that, you said something also very interesting in our previous conversation about fear and how there is some shaming going on. And I've seen this a lot on LinkedIn and
Yeah.
especially in the business world. It's like, no, you can't, you shouldn't feel fear because it's going to get in the way of you attracting your ideal clients, even in uncertain times. You've got to learn how to not do that. And so, what's the myth behind that? What's There might be a
Well,
little delay. Sorry, go ahead.
I feel like, yeah, this is not very helpful because it's the kind of shame that you would apply to a machine, you know? Like you've got a machine with some sand in its gears and you're like, you've got to clean out that sand so you can continue to be a machine. And it's like we're not machines. We're human beings. Um, and I think it's really important at this time for us to acknowledge that and give ourselves some compassion and go, no, I'm a human being and I have some fear programs activated. These are not programs that I can eliminate. And this is an interesting thing that I think is coming up right now because I do a lot of work on helping people release their subconscious blocks. And a lot of subconscious conditioning that we picked up in childhood can be altered. But there's deeper conditioning than that is actually very difficult to change, and change it, you can just work with it. And that's the evolutionary programming. So we have a couple of evolutionary programs that we run, one of which is the safety and survival evolutionary programming. Another one is around belonging, because we survive better when we belong in a tribe. There's a few evolutionary programs that you shouldn't expect to be able to change. But what you can do is acknowledge them and work with them. So I think for a lot of us, our survival instinct has been activated, and our fear programs, the fight, flight, or freeze programs, have been activated. So, some of us may be having different reactions, whether we've gone into fight, or we've gone into flight, or we've gone into fear, may mean that we have different reactions. But underneath all of those reactions is the fear of survival. And that's a human fear that we would actually expect to be acting like a global pandemic. It's helpful for us to be shaming ourselves or other people about being kind of in a fear responding some forward motion. Denying the fear isn't going to help us get to the forward motion. So I guess that's my main point is let's look at the fear. Let's acknowledge the fear. Just like, surfacing that shark. I remember in Jaws, when the shark came up and it was like so obviously an animatronic fake.
Right.
It wasn't free in the end. So, that film was a lot scarier when they kept that shark under the water. Yeah. And so there is a process for us to be able to surface our fears. And when we do that, they end up being a lot less scary. It's kind of like, when you think there's something in your closet at night when you're a kid,
Totally.
and
Monsters under the
when you
bed.
turn on the light, exactly, you turn on the light and you look, and it's like it's just a teddy bear, or a shirt hanging on a hanger, not a man, or whatever. So we just want to bring the light to these fears, and they end up being a lot less scary when we do that.
I love that. Shine a light on them. I mean, that says it all right there. Because when it's dark, it's tough to see what's really there. It's tough to discern from truth and illusion. So, yeah, very very cool. Okay, so let's talk about, how do we surface this fear? Are we going to start feeling really fearful when we do this, or like?
Well, we're gonna feel what we feel. So let me take you through the process, because it ends up, like I said, once you surface things, they're a lot less scary. Um, so let me take you through the process, and then we can kind of do a little debrief on your experience of that. And your listeners should be able to go through the same process while we do this, okay?
Great, I'm game.
So to start with, just close your eyes and take a couple of deep breaths. And what I want you to do is to ask your body, what is the most intense feeling that I have right now that's sort of sitting below the surface? Where is my fear and my anxiety residing in my body? Where is it locationally most intense in my body? So maybe, Christy, you can answer that question for me.
Yeah, so it's like between my stomach and my heart. Like it's kind of stuck right between those
Yeah.
two spots.
And are they connected?
Um, no, it's just
Which
where
one
it's.
is more intense?
Well, what I meant is it's not both at the same time. It's like right between those two spots.
Oh, it's between.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's one spot between the stomach
Yes.
and the chest.
Yes.
Okay, great. So focus your attention on that spot. And I'm going to ask you a series of questions. What shape is it?
Mm, it's like a square.
What color is it?
Red.
What texture is it? Smooth or rough?
It's kind of spiky.
Spiky.
Yeah.
A spiky red square. What temperature is it?
It's hot.
Spiky red hot square. Is it a square or a cube? Is it
Oh,
2D or
it's more of a cube.
3D?
Yes.
It's
Thank
a
you.
cube. Okay.
Mhm.
Is it heavy or light?
Heavy.
Okay. Any other characteristics you want to share with me about it?
It has really weird googly eyes.
Weird googly eyes. Where are the googly eyes? On the cube or
Yeah,
on the
right on the cube.
spikes?
Like, yeah,
Right on the cube.
like somehow it has life. So,
Yeah. Okay. So do you feel like you have a fix on what shape it is, what color it is, what texture it is, what all
yes.
the aspects of it?
hmm
Now
Oh, and
I
it's
want you
kind
to
of it's
say
kind of hairy too. I'm just gonna throw that in. It's a little
hairy.
hairy.
Yeah. Okay. That's great. Every way that you can describe it that is an adjective. Okay. So this is one of the keys to the process is we're just describing it, its characteristic, what it looks like, what it feels like. We're not saying attributing meaning to it. We're not saying this is my fear about X or this is my guilt about my mother or anything like that. We're just describing it. And once you have a fix on what it looks like and feels like and how heavy it is and the temperature, now I want you to say to it, I see you.
Mm,
I see you. I acknowledge you.
I see
And
you. I acknowledge you.
I'm not not asking,
You cut out just a bit. Can you repeat?
and I'm not asking you to leave. It's okay for you to be here. And now I want you to say to this shape, the red spiky cube that's hairy with eyes, that's hot, show me what you want to show me. And we're going to keep watching it and describing it in adjectives and see if it changes in any way. So say to it, show.
Okay, you cut out again. Can you repeat?
Say, show me what you want to show me.
Okay, show me what you want to show me.
And just tell me if it's changing in any way. Is it moving? Is it changing color? Changing shape? Changing heaviness, lightness, temperature, anything?
This is really interesting. So when I said I see you and show me what you want to show me, it's almost like a lid on the cube, like opened up, and then light shone through it, like up through my head, like
Yeah,
it was like a flashlight. And then it started to like rearrange itself and turn inside out. And then it turned into like a blue uh sphere
yeah,
that's like furry and
yeah,
soft and like not scary at all.
yeah.
So that's
Great.
interesting.
Yeah, yeah. And so I just encourage you to say thank you for showing me that.
Yeah, thank you for showing me that. That's interesting. It's totally my
It,
subconscious talking, right? I don't even know what this means.
yeah. And is there anything else you'd like to show me?
Hmm. Now it's like spinning around like a vortex, hmm, like, oh, like fairy godmother turning Cinderella
Mm-hmm,
around in a vortex. Like,
mm-hmm.
it's kind of weird. I don't know. What is it going to show me again? Show me something else. Hmm.
It's okay, just stay with it and describe it. What color is the vortex?
Yellow.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And what temperature is the vortex?
Oh, it's nice. It's like a spring day.
Mm. And anything else? Just continue describing.
um, yeah, it just seems like it's still spinning, like it's transforming into something.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I don't
Stay
think it's,
with it.
yeah, it's not really stopping.
That's okay. It gets to do whatever it wants to do, okay? We're just describing and observing. To stay with it and keep describing what's happening.
Hmm. Sometimes this is tough for me because I know about dream symbolism and I'm like trying to analyze it. Like, what does this
Yeah.
mean?
Just
Okay,
let
so I
your
just have to let it
rational
go.
mind go.
Yeah, I
Let
gotta let
the
it go.
all the interpretation and meaning, let it go. Just stick with the adjectives.
Okay,
What
so
color is it? What
it's, yeah.
shape is it?
So it stopped. It's yellow.
Mm-hmm.
It's a star, which is weird.
Mm-hmm.
Try not to judge again. Yeah, it just reminds me of that invincibility star from Super Mario. Like like,
Okay.
you know, the game, like, where you have this invincibility and you can go through all the obstacles and kill them on the
Yeah.
way, and
That's awesome.
it doesn't take one of your lives.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's interesting. Little smiley face.
Uh-huh.
I hear the music from Super Mario.
Oh, cool. Yeah. So that's some pretty powerful symbolism for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So ask it, is there anything else you would like to show me?
Hmm. I just got the number 8. It's kind of like
Mm-hmm.
an infinity symbol. Hmm.
Great. And what's the feeling that you get from this transformed
Oh, like peace,
object?
total peace and calm. And
Peace.
um,
Yeah.
I mean,
Invincibility
what could be better than invincibility, right?
and infinity.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so spread now from the area of your chest where that original cube was.
Mm-hmm.
And let it spread. If this is a beautiful feeling that you want to embody fully, then let it spread into every cell of your body. And now into your auric field and radiating out from you without leaving you, attracting into your manifest reality that which matches the energy of this gift. Turning you into a magnet, a beacon, attracting like for like from this moment forward. Thank you, thank you, thank you. How does that feel?
Yeah. That was pretty cool. Was it
Yeah,
painful?
no,
Nope. Didn't hurt.
no.
Wasn't embarrassing.
Or had something to teach you, right? Like it. So just come back to your body first. Let's ground out. Yeah, so just feel your body connecting to the ground, feeling your connection to earth as if there's a golden chain extending from the base of your spine, grounding into the center of the earth. And then follow your chakras from the base chakra all the way up to the top of your head. And becoming aware that there's a beautiful filament of white light extending from the top of your head, connecting you up to divine source. So that you're always connected to divine source, you're always grounded into Mother Earth, aligned, intuitively guided, perfect for you action moving forward. And just thank that wonderful lesson and display. Let's call it display because we weren't trying to interpret so much as just observe. So thank that fear for the wonderful display that it gave you of its true nature. Great. Mm,
That was really cool.
yeah, it
So
is
now what?
cool.
Now what? What do we do? Do
I
we do
love
we
it.
deliberate? Like, do we analyze, or do we just like
Well, I
it's all
think
good?
the key point to the experience is that when you look at it, when you're willing to go there and look at it without judging it, and this is the wonderful part of just using adjectives and not creating meaning, is that we take out our judgment. So we're not judging the feeling, we're just being with the feeling and asking the feeling what it would like to show us. And when we do that, um, I have never experienced it to be anything other than illuminating and um, certainly not a process that leaves me fearful in the end. Just shining the light on that fear, it turns out to not be a fear. It's on our side. It's like it's not an enemy, it's on our side, right? The
Mm-hmm.
fear is there to show us something. And when we're willing to just look and experience and describe to ourselves what it's showing us, I don't want to say the fear dissolves, Right, because that's actually not the purpose of the exercise. The purpose of the exercise is to go into the fear and say, it is okay that you're here. I am not asking you to leave. And that's very counter to what we're taught in our society. You know, we're meant to suppress our fears, or we're meant to conquer them, you know,
Yeah.
and soldier on in the face of our fears, like feel the fear and do it anyway. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like, yes, feel the fear, really feel the fear, be with the fear. You know, if that's I think the message, and feel the fear and do it anyway. Whereas often we just jump to do it anyway without feeling the fear, right? So this process is about, yes, I'm going to acknowledge and really feel into what this fear is going to show me, and let it show me what I'm not going to force, you know, that my red cube transform into a golden star, right? If it does, then I'm just going to watch that. But I'm not going to force this process in any way, or impose upon it any ideas that I might have from my conscious mind about what it should look like and what it should transform into, and whether it should stay or go away.
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah, I used to have a real problem with stuff like this just because just what you said, it's like you're trying to make it mean something, or you're like, is this the right answer? And yeah, like the process is just like, what was the first thing that came to my mind? What was the first color that came to my mind? What was the first shape, etc. You
yeah,
know, and it's almost like you're watching a movie, or you're,
yeah,
yeah, like you're daydreaming. It's just what comes up
yeah.
first for you, and not judging it, or trying to make it, not trying to control the vision or the dream, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly. And even, you know, some people have difficulty with, right, and seeing things. Um, but if you just do that, do the actual, you know, questions, and go with the first answer that comes to mind, even if you're not visually seeing anything, it still works. So
Mm,
just asking, what color are you? What shape are you? What temperature are you? And going with the very first answer that comes to mind, even if it's not a visual experience.
yeah. It's so great. Well, good. Well,
Cool.
is there anything else you want to mention before we wrap up? Any how can people get a hold of you or learn more about what you do? Can you talk a little bit about your services and what it is that you do?
Shoot an article about this. You can go to my blog, theabundancecode.com, um, and just click on the menu to go to the blog, and then you can type in the search or subtle art, and that'll take you to the blog that's called The Subtle Art of Surfacing, that, you know, has whole process so that you can refresh your mind about how to do it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Julie, for coming on today and sharing with us this process. What is, do you have a name for the process yet? Oh, there's a little delay.
Oh, yeah, you just cut out.
We
Sorry.
got some internet things going on today.
Yes.
Thanks for bearing with us,
so
everyone.
so everybody's on the internet. Everybody's on the internet
Right. I
all at
know
once,
everyone's
all
home
around the world.
downloading.
Yeah. So, yeah, no, I'm really happy to share this process because it's been so helpful to me over the years. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. And does it have a name or origination? Do you remember where you learned it?
Yeah, I learned it from a yogi um, about 20 odd years ago. It's you know, it's kind of a meditation process that I've just found incredibly useful. Prior to that, you know, I had a lot of emotional stuff that I was dealing with from my childhood, abuse issues, and I had actual terror about facing some of my feelings, you know? Like I did, the last thing I wanted to do was face some of my feelings. And when I learned this process, it was so helpful to me because the very first time I experienced it, I realized that it wasn't scary and that a lot of the feelings that I had buried, um, when I brought them to light, they just weren't. They weren't as terrifying as I thought they were going to be, you know? And yeah, it really allowed me to process a lot of stuff that I had been too afraid to go to before that.
Awesome. Thank you so much again, Julie.
Yeah,
All right.
well, it's
Hear that,
always
everyone?
amazing to talk to you.
Oh, yeah, you too. So, yeah, definitely check out Julie's blog at theabundancecode.com and do a search for that blog, The Subtle Art of Surfacing. And thanks again. We'll
Thank
hopefully have
you.
you on again. You're a very popular guest. So, thanks so
Great.
much.